There is the obvious answer, and then there is the correct answer. And the reason for that has in part to do because of the game's tumultuous development cycle in which a lot of things were cut, a lot of things were changed, a lot of people like misinterpret like very specific lore. In order to find out what really happens in Star Fox Adventures, you kind of have to parse through not only the deep lore of this game, but really take a deep dive into Dinosaur Planet's development history as a whole and really take all of that lore into consideration as to what actually happened in this game. But when you break down the actual deep lore of Dinosaur Planet, when you talk to all the NPCs, when you explore, when you interact with like when you hear all these stories about the distant past and about the characters and about their dynamics with one another, this is actually the most fleshed out and complex planet we have ever seen in the history of Star Fox. And the reason for that is that this was originally a completely different game, Dinosaur Planet, which had a more Zelda-esque kind of focus and style, where it had all this lore, it had all this like all these supernatural elements, it had all these competing factions, and it had this way darker tone than what the game ended up being. So, unless it's stated otherwise, we can safely assume that a lot of the things that were canon in Dinosaur Planet are indeed still canon in Star Fox Adventures. It is very specifically a blueprint that established some of the really strange aspects of Star Fox Adventures lore. You know, like how the second moon crashed into the planet and mutated a bunch of dinosaurs and created the sharp claw. Okay, like that's not something that's like really explained all that thoroughly in Star Fox Adventures, but you know it has basis in Dinosaur Planet. When you really pay attention, when you really start diving deep into the deep dark lore of Star Fox Adventures, what you begin to realize is that what you're being told about the Krazoa can't possibly be true. So, for example, this Earthwalker claims the Krazoa spirits were hidden all over the planet, but the simple reality is there is one in the palace, Scales has another, and the other four are hidden in areas that the Earthwalkers could not possibly build or reach. So, what's not obvious to Star Fox Adventures players is that in Dinosaur Planet, the Krazoa actually were the antagonists.